You know what that means?
The music or your dancing?
Yes, you know what that means?
Bang.
That means it's time. That means it's 7:00 something
7:01.
on this Monday evening. And that is the intro to the Spam Saloon with the Bo and Greggo show. And we're here every Monday and Friday at 7 p.m. And we're the Spam, S-P-A-M-M, is sports, politics, attitude maybe.
No,
Attitude, adventure,
adventure, music,
ass clowns,
little media.
media.
Did you really just say that?
I did.
Yes,
what
it's
are,
okay.
What are ass clowns?
I
Well,
did.
they are.
I don't know.
That's the identification of an ass clown.
I don't
is the
know.
media.
Oh, boy.
A good point.
That's it. There's
Good
your
point, especially
definition.
this week.
Wikipedia. Look it up.
Getting worse every week. Getting
Every
worse
day.
Every single day.
It's
Getting
horrible.
worse.
And we appreciate you joining us as always on this Monday. Tonight's Monday, and then every Friday at 7. And we just talk about a lot of things from A to Z. Actually, is really what it boils down to, and bring some stuff that aggravates us, or maybe need to inform you about some stuff that's going on out there that you may not know about. And I'm one of your hosts, Bo Carver, and running Facebook. And this is where you can find us. So tell some friends and neighbors about us if you dare, and you trust to do that. You can see us live. I'm talking about live, and it's archived as well on Facebook.com/Bo and Greggo. That's BOANDGREGGO. And you can make comments because Barbara Ann Purple Hayes, who's running the Facebook live stream, will, if you say something or ask a question that she deems worthy, she'll probably bring it up. If you don't, she probably won't.
Well, Michael Moulton is asking everyone to share our show.
Hey, Michael Moulton, thank you, brother. That's
M to the Rock.
M to the Rock.
Psycho Dave's here.
Psycho Dave, thank you for joining us.
There's more, but I know you know those
Yeah, and share the show, as Michael Moulton says. Now, listen, there's nobody knows about this kind of situation on these live channel feeds than Michael Moulton and the M to the Rock. And what you do is you have to hit those love buttons on there, send us some loves. Greggo, then if he gets them, he can eat them. You'll see him over there.
I will.
And so share. And when you share it, your people on your timeline will join in, and we'll have a good time. And so that's what you can do on Facebook. That's Facebook.com/Bo and Greggo, and that's the Bo and Greggo show. Or Twitter. We're actually on Twitter right now. We're hoping. I'm doing everything tonight, so if it crashes and burns, could be my last show. But anyway, Twitter.com/Bo and Greggo there. So Twitter.com, or if you're on Twitter, just go to @Bo and Greggo, and we're there. And both places are archived. The shows are archived, but if you feel like, well, I don't want to go and search that timeline or that area.
What else do you have to do?
Well, then they can, if they want to find the archive show, it's really a lot easier to go to YouTube, because they just go to youtube.com and just search Bo and Greggo show, boom, and it pops up, and all the shows are right there. So they can go right down the line and listen and subscribe to that channel, because we're going to start putting some things on that YouTube that you won't see on Twitter or Facebook, and it could get wacky. And I'm planning on getting wacky.
There's all the hearts for Greggo to eat.
Hey, there comes some of the hearts. Let's see some hearts.
You
More
do.
hearts. And so we thank you for joining us, and as always, the one and only, the great Greggo the Hammer Williams is always in the house with us on Mondays and Fridays. And
you know what's
today? It's always great to see you, my brother.
What's today? Good to see you guys. I mean, what's today? The 16th?
Yes, sir.
Today's the day. Today's the day. Today's the official day. Every year there comes a day that I've just had it with summer, and I've had I've had it with hot weather. I mean, normally, you know, I choose to live in Texas. I'm a native Texan. I've lived here my whole life.
Same here.
It gets hot in Texas, and so I never gripe about it. I never whine about it, because it's Texas,
and it's here.
July, it's August, it's September, it's hot. It gets that way. But there comes a day when I say, okay, that's it. Bring on the cool weather.
I did
Bring
the
it on.
same thing today.
And today is that day. So I guess great minds think alike. So I've I don't care if there's no more lake days. I don't care if there are no more beach days.
Or barbecues or none of that, right?
No,
It's
because
over.
we know that, when you're in Texas, basically you can do everything year round. There's not really anything you can't do year round. Now, if you have a backyard swimming pool, sometimes it's tough swimming in December and January
Right.
and February. But it can be done.
Yes.
But you can always play golf, which I'm not
yeah.
a golfer, but a lot of people that are listening are. You can always play golf. You can always wear shorts. There's not a month in Texas you can't wear shorts.
My son wears shorts year round.
There's no need to have what my grandmother used to call a winter coat.
I don't have.
I have them because I don't like cold weather. So when it gets that way, I have to
He's a
bundle
wimp.
up.
But you may if you've got a big heavy coat in Texas, you may wear it
That's
maybe
true.
5 times,
If
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to have that 1 week or 5 days of
a
ice.
blast,
We
right.
never get snow. We're going to have ice, and everybody's going to freak out like it never happened, like it never happened. That we've never seen this ice, and the whole metroplex will come to a standstill, and every
vacation.
and every newscast will have some Barbie out there standing with earmuffs on, where you can see her breath coming out. Yeah, with one of those Russian raccoon hats
On her
on.
head, yeah.
You're going to have that. I mean, it happens every single year. But today was that day, and it's getting earlier. I mean, in my old age, it's getting early. I mean, normally I can make it through the month of September.
No, we're done.
But there's
with you.
just something about football season, and I'm not counting training camp, because I equate training camp with heat.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
with
what
hot
it is.
weather.
Exactly.
But there's just something about watching a full schedule
Season game.
of NFL games on Sunday, and you're like, well, damn it, it needs to be hot.
And it's
I need to
95 degrees in New York.
I need to build a fire.
Right.
And
That's not good.
apparently yesterday, that Cowboy game in Washington, man, I tell you what, some of the hottest days I've ever spent in my life have been in Washington, D.C., because that humidity there,
It's rough.
with the Potomac River, and you've got the James River not very far from there,
And you got the ocean. That
and you got
blows
the
in.
ocean not
Yeah.
very far.
No.
Right.
It gets so humid there. It gets Houston humid. It really does.
Well, and I'm a native Texan, born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and then
Well, then you know all about
I
humidity.
know all about humidity. They don't get any worse in that area. But I did have a stay in the New York, New Jersey area in Bergen County, New Jersey for about 5 years. And it gets pretty tough in the summer there.
But
It's horrible in the winter because the
But their
winters are real
summer
long.
in New York, I've got several friends that live in New York City, and they have 1 month where it's really hot and really humid.
Yeah,
and
they do.
And then by now, and if you'll start watching some of the cable news, and you see the people in Washington D.C. and New York, in the next couple weeks, you'll see them wearing winter clothes.
Yeah, little.
Yeah.
Because it starts getting cold.
It does
I mean, here
change.
in Texas, it's I remember last year that I had the top down on my car during Thanksgiving.
And that does happen.
That was year before. That wasn't last year.
But I do like the fact that around those kind of times it's kind of comfortable weather wise. But the one thing, and I bitched about it to Barbara Ann Purple Haze today. I said, this is it. I mean, I'm like
It's
you,
done.
and I think the biggest reason was it's been a lot of consistent days around that 100 mark.
but it
Because a lot of
happens
times, but sometimes we get those breaks where it drops to 90. Gives you the kind of a little break, and
No,
maybe
we had that about a week ago.
a little teaser that we're moving maybe to that fall. But man,
But it
it's-
hit me today.
Yeah.
I was outside and emptying some trash, and I'm like, okay, that's it.
I'm
I
done.
mean, I mean, when I start feeling sweat running down my back, that's it. That's
know.
I'm like, okay, I've had it with that this year.
Yes.
I'm done with it for 2019. Bring on some cold weather,
Yes, sir.
and it can't get cold enough for me.
I
Let's
agree.
see,
I
she's
see I'm
like
the same
that,
way.
too.
I mean, I could live in Colorado and have that cold all the time.
I would love for it to be cold all the time.
Well, that's where we differ.
We do.
I don't like it when it gets, and I'll be complaining about it by the time February rolls around, and we've had several of those 20-degree days.
I always thought it would be cool
I'm
to,
out.
'cause I've never lived in a place, to where that you have 4 seasons.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
yeah.
in Texas you have hot and cold. That's
Yes.
it.
Yes.
That's it. You know, you don't have any. There's nothing really.
I'm from Arizona. They don't have seasons either.
No.
No.
But I'll tell you what.
that's real hot there.
Now,
That's
as
hell.
someone that spent a lot of time, because the Rangers trained
Yeah.
in Arizona, and we'd spend a lot of time there. You think it doesn't get cold in the morning in Arizona?
You're
I mean,
wrong.
really cold. I mean, really
It's
cold.
that clear air out there, isn't it? Like the sky's real
Now
clear.
you'll put on a sweatshirt, you know, when you're out in the morning working out or doing anything, and by about 10 o'clock, it's 105.
You're nude, right?
We
You got
used to go-
everything off.
We
right?
never went outside after 10 o'clock, or from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Too hot. You didn't. You got everything done, and then you were inside. Then you went back out after 6 when the
Now
sun
I
started
do
going down.
buy into that, you know, the humidity heat and just regular heat,
Well, it's
because
dry heat
because
there.
that dry heat there, and it's still hot.
Very hot.
It's still
Staggering.
hot. I remember one time that that I was covering a Arena League football game in June in Phoenix,
Hooch.
and it was at the United Center, which is downtown, which, you know, surrounded by concrete. I could not believe how hot. I mean, you could feel the heat just coming up
You
off
can
that
see
concrete.
it, yeah.
And got in the car and reached for the seatbelt and actually
Burnt your hand.
burned my hand.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
now I don't mean it was hot and you dry. I mean, it was like putting your
Frying
hand on a
pan
stove.
hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. The day I got married is June 25th. And my first marriage is 125 degrees outside. Now I should have known not to get
I mean,
married
the-
with it that hot.
The 100 in teens in Phoenix, that is pretty
It's
normal.
brutal. Yeah. Well, in November when you go back, it's 90 degrees, and people are thinking. I mean, from when I'm from Texas, I'm like, gosh, it's hot, and they're like, I forgot.
Yeah.
To them, that's their winter, 90 degrees. It's
Well,
ridiculous.
I'm ready for the heat to be over,
Yep.
and I'm sure there's some things that you're probably even more hot about than just even the weather.
There's so much
Knowing the
going
Greggo
on.
that I
He's
know,
done.
You know, there's so much going on.
I'm sure there's a lot more heat besides just the weather.
in the world, and yesterday, and we'll get into this a little bit later on, but that Brett Kavanaugh thing, that's the New York Times.
Now, what's the purpose of bringing all that up now? And this is another
to get-
30-year-old
just-
thing, right?
Because what they're doing, what the Democrats are doing, they're trying to frame this on they can't run on just hating Trump. That's it.
They got hit him from
And they
behind or
cannot
something.
let anybody think about the economy because things are going too good.
Right.
And so what they're going to do is they've got it broken up, and this is just my opinion, they've got it broken up into thirds. And they're going to attack 3 different branches. Number 1, Trump. They're going to get him because he's bad. He's horrible, despite the fact that you know he's
Right.
he's a vulgarian and he tweets. Okay, and that makes him Hitler. We all know that.
Exactly.
But they've added 2 to it, and I believe because everything in Washington D.C. is done with focus groups. I mean, they find out what their constituents are pissed off about. And if you notice, last week was when Congress came back. And when Congress came back, all of a sudden you start seeing all of these quotes and all of this coverage on Mitch McConnell,
Right.
the senator from Kentucky who is the Senate Majority Leader. And they're trying to make him out to be the villain on everything.
Right.
And you know what? If you're a Democrat, he is a villain. Because there are a
A
lot
good
of
point.
there are a lot of things and I think there were 2 people that got Trump elected, not including himself. His media guy, Brad Parscale, who's now his campaign manager, who was a genius at targeting people on the internet, and nobody understands the internet and how to target voters better than that guy. Nobody does.
I got you.
Him and Mitch McConnell. Because Mitch McConnell, in a very a-hole-ish way, would not bring who was that guy? The Supreme Court Justice. And once why does a name every time escape me? Anyway, the one that Obama, the one that Obama. We need Graham here. Graham would already have.
I know.
I'll be
already
here
had that.
Friday.
You know, I'm sure somebody knows on there that'll help us out. But the judge that Obama
Put in there.
put in there, and he just no, we're not going to vote on it. Well, why? You know, just not an election year. Well, that's crazy. And it was. And if it were the other way around, you Republicans would have been going nuts. But politically, it was a genius move. And it allowed the prospect of Trump appointing a conservative judge. It allowed that. And so between those two and Trump, I think that's who got him elected. So now Mitch McConnell, I think all the focus groups, they're still butthurt on that.
And so they're targeting him.
So they're
too.
targeting him. And now let's go ahead and bring Brett Kavanaugh back up and get and attack the judicial system.
Another 30-year-old thing, right?
Because now you're hearing about that 40% of the people on the court, conservative court, are credibly charged of sexual assaults. Well, they figured out that Clarence Thomas wasn't.
Correct.
At all, but they're trying to bring that back up. And Brett Kavanaugh, to where that woman, that Blasey Ford, that looks like Garth from Wayne's World,
That's true.
That they had her, she's up there lying her ass off, and they figured out that she was, and they busted her for it.
Correct.
And everybody else lied for it.
But nothing ever happens
and
to her.
now they're bringing up another allegation of somebody that apparently Brett Kavanaugh at a frat party 35 years ago pulled out his junk and here's the story, and somebody else pushed his junk into some other girl's face. Think about that for a minute. If somebody's got their junk hanging out, is there any guy that's going to push that junk in another girl's face?
Well, first of all, if that happened, it wouldn't be Kavanaugh's fault.
And,
it's kind of like, when you're being shoved or whatever, and you knock somebody over, like a car wreck.
So that's the story.
So a car wreck, if you're on the freeway and you run into the back of somebody, but somebody runs in the back of you, it's going to be that last person's fault.
Exactly. It always is. It always is. So, but anyway, so the New York Times, they come out and they write this, as they say, bombshell. There have been so many bombshell stories that I promise you.
They're looking for that A-bomb, aren't they?
I mean, you would think that this country looks like Hiroshima in 1945.
True.
I mean, there have been so many bombshell allegations. And so they start telling this story, and you read into it, and it is told from a guy that wasn't there, that didn't witness it, but somebody told him. And the person that is doing all the telling was a guy that was a Clinton operative that worked for Clinton.
Surprise.
The Clinton defense team on the Whitewater hearings.
Crazy.
Who just happened to be opposed by Brett Kavanaugh.
Right.
And so in the New York Times, they neglect to bring that up. That is journalistic malpractice right there.
Well, and that's where the media comes in, to where it is becoming an absolute
joke.
It's bigger than a joke.
Well,
I think Ass Clown really
used to
did that better.
You could really, you knew the New York Times leaned left, but they didn't out and out lie.
Right.
They didn't do that. They slanted stories.
They're actually, making stories up to the point to where it's nuts.
And then you get a little bit farther, and all this is based on a book. Well, thank goodness that a conservative writer, Molly Hemingway, who wrote the definitive book on Brett Kavanaugh that's sensational. It spells everything out, and just how they smeared this man with virtually no evidence whatsoever, and just all these wild allegations that they could not substantiate that happened 30 years ago in high school, and they were using yearbook entries. I mean, it was
that's crazy.
It was just insane. But anyway, come to find out, the woman who had the junk shoved in her face couldn't remember the incident at all. and they wanted to talk to her, and she says, "Look, I don't remember it. I don't think it happened, and I'm not talking to you." They neglected to say that.
Oh, wow.
And so
so where's this going to go?
Well, in the New York Times, nobody will retract the story now. They'll just say, "Well, we forgot to include this." Really? Okay. Well, that's the whole
after you're
story.
caught with your pants down.
Yeah. But now you know what they say, that a rumor will get halfway across the country before the truth puts its pants on.
Well, again,
Yeah.
in the morning.
Hitler said,
True.
you tell a lie long enough, people will start believing it. And that's what the media is doing.
And so-
they keep telling these crazy stories, and they want you to finally believe it. Like, my gosh, they've told it enough. It's got to be true.
And now, yesterday, of course, the first thing they do anytime there's something like this, they go to all the Democratic candidates for president, and every one of them, oh, he must be impeached. Brett Kavanaugh must be impeached.
Here we go.
And
That's their favorite
so
word.
And so now, you know, the conservative side, who they don't have a lot to fight back on because they don't have the mainstream media on their side. They don't have Hollywood. They don't have all of this. And so they're trying to fight. But, you know, Trump is saying that everybody at the New York Times that's involved with the story should be fired.
And I
he's
agree
right.
with him. I totally agree
He's
with that.
100% right.
And
They should be.
and that's why I love his tweets, because that's the only way you're going to get
Yeah.
the truth. You're not going to get it through the media, because the media would take, if he stood up in a podium and said anything, by the time you heard it, that comment would be twisted so bad it would sound like you wouldn't even. It would be like in another language.
Yeah.
And that's crap.
Exactly.
And that's why he.
Well,
has
that's what
to
they did to
tweet.
George Bush. I mean, George Bush was never able to get his message out because the media just distorted everything he said.
And so that's what happened, and I'm sure that was probably really frustrating.
And so
when you
that's,
get up and say
that's
something.
the big frustrating story of today. And it's just, I go back, you know, I graduated from TCU in '87, went through the journalism department, and the journalism rules that if I would have written a story based on a big revelation on that somebody told an anonymous source told somebody, and this somebody was stating it as fact like he was there, that professor would have first of all, you're flunking that story.
Yeah.
And you might get busted back to journalism 101. You might. I mean, the rules they break on a daily basis is just amazing, and it all goes back to
Let me ask you this question. Why? I know a little bit reason why. I mean, we've had Republican presidents before. We've had Democrat
but
presidents.
they've never fought back. What
Well,
they've done
but what
is
I'm asking you, why so hard against Donald Trump? And he has done some great things, whether you believe it or not. There's a lot of great things going on out there, whether you like his attitude, you don't like his hair, you don't like whatever. There's a lot of great things, and even though you leftist wingers don't want to see it, there is. But why do they hate him so bad? That's what I can't figure out.
you know, they really, because they had those years of Obama, who has all this flowery language and says all these things and gets nothing
And
done.
opened the door to
Right.
all the junk.
And they just thought that Hillary Clinton
Was gonna continue
bring
all
that
that.
and continue all that. And, you know, Trump is a bull in a china closet, if I can use an overused.
Well, I understand that.
You know, and he came in there, and a lot of things that they're used to, I mean, they're used to Republicans just kind of going along to get along.
And a lot of times they have.
Oh, they have.
And sometimes they're
but
still
now
doing.
you've got somebody fighting back.
Right.
If when that Access Hollywood tape came out, any other Republican on the planet would have dropped out of the race right then. But not Trump. He fought back.
Right.
And when they accused him of being a Russian operative, any other person would have resigned the presidency immediately. And he won't go away. And they don't. They're thumbing through their playbook, and they don't have a play for this.
They don't like his stubbornness, and
I mean, it's fourth and 101,
And he's
there's
throwing
only
deep.
100 yards on the football field.
Exactly. Well, and the thing too is that I really don't think that they, like I said, like his stubbornness. They don't like his directness. Like, he's not presidential. Well, what is that? What is president? Where you
know
get
what?
up and like you're when you run a mortuary. Oh, we're sorry for your loss. You know, you have to be that way.
Let me
And
tell you
he's
what,
just not.
Let me tell you why that, and he does a lot of things because he has so many unforced errors. He does so many things that I just like, don't say that, because that's going to give them ammo for another day of hitting you.
They're looking for it anyway.
But he did something today that is, to me, summarizes why I like him as president. because I understand what he is. He became very successful in New York real estate, the hardest real estate to be successful anywhere in the world.
Correct.
You can't go anywhere. I mean, if you can succeed there, you
like the song says, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
because it is cutthroat. And I know what type of person it takes to do that. You've got to be a shark. You can never stop, because if a shark stops, somebody's going to eat on it.
Right.
Shark's got to continuously keep moving, and that's what he does, from one story to another story to another story. But this is why that I really, really like him, because, and he's got a rally going tonight in New Mexico. And I love watching his rally because he's funny to me. The guy's funny.
Yeah, it's like going to a concert almost. Or a comedy act.
He will say something, and I'll laugh, and I'll go, my God, this guy's the president of the United States.
I know, but it's wonderful.
But today, he gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Mariano Rivera, the ex-Yankee reliever.
Right, exactly.
Who was the greatest reliever of all time, one of the greatest pitchers.
No doubt.
That cutter that he threw was unhittable. You could not hit it. You could not hit it. And he came from Panama, dirt poor, and became an American citizen, and is now, really active in helping underprivileged kids. Great, just a terrific human being. Been married for 28 years to the same person, got great kids. Just the American dream. That is what he is. So, rightfully so, Trump awards him the Medal of Freedom. Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but whenever he would come in from the bullpen, they'd play Metallica, Enter the Sandman.
I do remember that.
Okay? And so, and that's just a really cool song that I like. And whenever you heard that, after about 2 or 3 years of trying to hit that cutter and seeing him, that number 42 come in from there, it's over. The game's over. It's time to go to sleep. It's time to see the Sandman. It's just over. And I promise you, it had a psychological effect on opposing teams over the years. Guarantee it did. So there they are. I mean, they're in that big room, the East Room of the White House, opulent, got everything there, and everybody in suit and ties, and it's buttoned down, and it's pomp and circumstance, and they fire up the pomp and circumstance music of the president.
Right.
So here comes the president. Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the United States.
Real official.
Okay.
Everything.
And now, see, if I'd have been any kind of partner, I would have pulled this and we could have played it, and I wouldn't describe it. But once again, I have no talent.
Well, if you'd have told me, I could have done that.
Once again,
okay.
once again. So, and then I'm watching. I'm like, okay, all right. And all of a sudden, you hear the great Bob Sterling. Okay, Bob Sterling is the PA guy of the Yankees. And you've heard him introduce people a million times.
Yes, I have.
I mean, he started with DiMaggio and ended with Derek Jeter. I mean, that's how long he did it. And then all of a sudden you hear, pitching for the Yankees, number 42, Mariano Rivera. And that's the worst interpretation of ever. So please forgive me.
We get the idea, though.
And so all these people in there, all these cabinet members, the vice president, and just all of these diplomats, and everybody sitting in there buttoned down. And I'll be damned if they didn't fire up Enter Sandman in the White House.
How sweet!
And then in those big giant doors that have got to be about 30 feet tall,
exactly.
They open up, and here comes Trump with his hair working for him, and Mariano Rivera, and they walk out to
with
Enter
that song.
Sandman.
Love it.
And I thought, that is the
genius.
That is why, and there's no other president that would have done that.
Ever.
None that would have done that.
No.
Because that's not
presidential. I mean, that's
and you know what? Yeah. It's not presidential. You know what it is? It's cool. It's neat. And of course, the media, they're going to have a problem with it. And of course, the first thing they do is go to liberal-leaning Metallica. What do you think about them playing that song? Let it go. Let somebody have a moment without trying to politicize every freaking thing that goes on. But I thought that was just
sweet.
Epitomized and just surmised why I like him, because even though I do think he takes the job seriously. I do think he loves America, and I do question people on the left whether they really do or not. I really do.
That.
I do think that he puts country above anything else. I do think he puts the United States of America
No doubt.
before the Allies or anybody else,
No
which
question.
I like that too.
Absolutely.
Which the left doesn't like that. And so I get it. I understand that. But when he can have a little bit of fun, I like that.
Well, and I think we live in a day and age to where he's utilizing everything that's being granted to us as a human being. I mean, like with the people don't like him tweeting and don't like him tweeting, but
Well, you know
I
what?
promise you, from here on out, any other president that probably ever comes after him will tweet. He will set the stage for that. And
I don't know.
Maybe not, but I know one thing. Because of the way things are with the media, with the left, with Hollywood and all that, if he did not tweet, me as an American would not hear from him and his voice the way he wants me to hear it. I would be listening from a bunch of yahoo ass clowns, as you said a while ago, and that's what we would hear, and that's not what I want to hear from him. And because of that, we're getting it out of the horse's mouth.
Yep, we are. And I mean, because if you want, if we can kind of tie this segment up a little bit, and if you want an example of that, it's that made up, completely slanted, biased, wrong, fake news story that the New York Times put out. And if Trump releases, the White House releases what he's going to do, and it's got to go through that fake news filter, you're not going to get the real story. You're going to get their spin. You're going to get a leftist, liberal, communist spin, because they're communists. They're not all Democrats, but the new Democrats, they're just straight up communists, and they call themselves socialists, and the only reason they do is because they're too stupid to know that they're communists.
Well, the problem is they can't say that, because then, that would really scare too many people, and they're not really calling themselves socialists, even though that's what they're acting like. And I know that if you just joined us, you're tuned in to the Spam Saloon. That's SPAMM. And we talk sports, politics, adventure with an attitude, music and media. And we're here on Mondays and Fridays at 7 p.m. And these shows are archived. You can find us at live on Facebook.com/Bo and Greggo. Our Twitter, we're live there too, Twitter.com/Bo and Greggo. And then you can certainly find the archive versions also on YouTube.com. Then search Bo and Greggo Show. Now, not only, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but not only does the media just make up stuff and just start throwing out there, but then we have these Democrat presidential hopefuls that are doing the same thing. And I'd like to make this comment before we get on this, is that I would like to congratulate Beto O'Rourke for being the AR-15 Salesman of the Month.
The year? What are you talking about?
Well, see, that's the thing.
And his comment of saying that he's talked to all these Texans and they're all for picking up these guns and all that kind of crap, and it's bull crap.
Well, he's crapped the bed on ever getting elected in Texas again. I mean, that's never going to happen. But see, that's
his Hail Mary to try to get intention for the presidency.
It is, but see, the both political parties wear masks. I mean, they all have an ulterior motive behind them.
Yeah.
Every one of them does. I mean, the Republicans do too. I mean,
Well,
there are certain things that they will just, say that, no, that's not the way it is, when we know it is.
Correct. I know
and, the liberals will swear they're not for big government, but we know they are because they're wearing that mask. They will swear they're not socialists, but they're wearing that mask, and we know. They will swear they're not after your guns and the elimination of the Second Amendment, but we know they are. And
that's a real mask.
Beto ripped that mask off the other night.
Yes, he did.
And he's not a very popular character right now among the Democrats because he did that.
Right.
I mean, And I mean,
because it exposed them, and they don't want to be
exactly.
exposed.
They want that mask on.
Correct.
They want to keep wearing that mask. Well, we're not for your guns. You know, Obama said that. When everybody knows they are.
But at least they get to hide behind it, so you
Right.
feel a little more comfortable
then-
by that. Well, you know, I understand that we need a little stuff done with the gun control,
Trump,
blah, blah, blah.
But see, Trump derangement syndrome is driving them so insane that they're just ripping their mask off, and they're showing everybody exactly who they are. I mean, they're ripping
That's
that.
greatness.
They're ripping that beautiful, beautiful black Darth Vader mask. They're ripping that off, and you're seeing that veiny, bloody-looking, you know,
Yeah, he's
Anakin Skywalker face of his
They're
that was
lo-
acid burned off. That's what you're seeing.
True.
they're losing it so much they're kind of forced to do it because they just can't
Yeah.
stand it. And you know, when you get into those things like Beto, whatever you want to call
His
him.
name is Robert Francis.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Irishman
gee, are you
from
serious?
He's
Yeah, Robert
Irish.
Francis O'Rourke.
Yeah, there's
O'Rourke,
nothing.
He's
Oh,
about
boy.
as Mexican as I am.
Oh boy.
But anyway, that kind of leads a little bit to some gun control things that I want to ask you about. I want to say that, you know, I did a little research in that over 40%, and this was done last year, that over 46% of all gun owners in the world are in the United States.
They are.
And I believe they said that there's almost 400 million civilians that own guns
Yep.
in this country. And so what I'm getting at is that when you start trying to think that you're going to do this big, take your gun and
A
gun
gun sweep,
control, I mean, that's not like coming into a grandma's house on 4th Street and overtaking that person, and there you go, we've got everything under control. You've got a big,
Well,
that's not going to happen.
Well, let me give you some. I'm a gun guy.
So am I. So are we.
I am very ingrained in the gun culture. I'm a Class 3 license.
Now, what is that? What is a Class 3 license carrier?
That means that I can deal in guns. I mean, I can legally own pretty much any gun there is. I mean,
Okay.
I can legally own a fully automatic. I
Okay.
can legally sell a fully automatic to another licensed person.
Right.
I can.
Of a Class 3,
yes,
you mean?
Yes.
I got you.
I can legally do that, and it takes a lot to get that license. And it's something I'm very proud of, and it's something that I guard with my life.
Yes, and I don't
because
blame you.
I've got it today, but you screw up, and they will take it away from you in a minute.
And isn't that what's fearful about this so-called red flag thing they want to put together? Because that's nothing more than like, okay, it's kind of like CPS. For example, like if somebody gets mad at you on your street, they can just pick up the phone and call CPS and say you're screwing you're screwing your kids, beating them up or whatever, and make up stories that
Yep.
are not true.
You can.
And guess what? CPS is going to be on your front doorstep tomorrow morning or that night.
And even though that in this country you are innocent till proven guilty, in a situation like that, you've got to prove your innocence.
Yes, they'll come and
It's
take
like trying
your
to board an
kids.
airplane. I mean, everybody that walks in an airplane terminal, they assume that everybody in there is armed.
Yeah, but I don't
And
blame
you've got
them. They
to
should
go
be.
through metal detector, take off your shoes, put everything through X-ray, and prove that no, I'm not armed. You have to prove that. So that's one of the few things, and it's the same thing there. But as someone that has walked many, many, many gun shows, I know there's an element of the gun idiot out there.
Well,
There are the gun idiots.
But there's idiots in everything.
There are,
you know?
but-
you can't
but-
just totally say that that's 100%. That's
no,
never
no,
going to be.
it's not. But
Right.
there is an element
I
there.
agree.
And they are scary. And they are very far on the right. And they read those Turner Diaries, the same thing that Timothy McVeigh read. And they're a scary lot. I mean, they are white supremacists. They are.
I do know
and
that
and
exists.
the only difference is they got guns.
Right.
And that's a problem. So as a guy that will go to the mat for the Second Amendment, that believes in the Second Amendment, that's ingrained in the gun culture, we've got a gun problem. There is a gun problem here.
But don't we have problems in every category? We got
We got
DWI problems. We got drug problems. We got all those kind of problems.
What you're doing there, Bo, is you're deflecting, and that's what drives liberals nuts. There's no doubt that we have a gun problem. I mean, too many people that shouldn't have guns are getting a hold of them.
But now, they can get a hold of them illegally.
Yes, they can.
So that doesn't.
So we have to make that. We have to take measures where they can't do that, or make it at least harder. Because right now it's too easy. Any Yahoo, anybody. I mean, you could be the most insane person in the world, and you can go to a gun show this weekend. And you can go to a private buyer and buy a handgun.
But you can do that on the back street.
Yeah, you can.
You don't have to do that.
Yep.
And the thing about it is what they're going to do is they're going to pass laws that's going to hit me more than it's going to hit them. And the next thing you know, they're going to say, Bo Carver, you can't carry a gun anymore. Well, let me tell you something.
Nope. See.
I think that's what they want.
That's their goal. That's what we have to fight against.
And that's why people are afraid to get into that other side, because then that's what they think's coming.
But our side, there's a gun problem. I'm sorry. I mean, you're talking about the biggest gun guy in the world.
Well,
there is a gun problem, and something has to be done. Now, does that mean that they need to be eliminated? Hell no. Does that mean that the Second Amendment needs to be done away with? Shit, no.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
We don't have a bleeper on this thing, so
right,
you just
right.
it's the way it is out here.
Well, I'm Beto now,
And we're good.
I didn't drop the F-bomb. At least I didn't drop the F-bomb. But there is a problem, and it needs to be addressed. And I really believe, and I've talked to many people that are gun guys like me that understand that. And we're going to have to give a little bit. Now, the other side, they're going to have to give too. And what they're going to have to give is up the notion of doing away with guns and banning things.
But that's what people that are like Barbara Ann and I.
Because both sides want all or nothing. I mean, we want. It seems.
But you're not for the red flag law.
No.
See, so that's one. But that's one of the areas they want to start.
Well, they can forget
first.
that. I mean, there's two things.
But that's what they want to start with first. That's the first thing.
There's
they
two
want
things.
to first start with that to try to get people to where you can call them and, hey, guess what?
Nope.
Hey, I'm Bo Carver, and I do a show with Greggo, the Hammer Williams, and I think you guys need to go check him out because, I mean, he was a little wacky on the show Monday, and I think you need to go knock on his door. And here comes CPS. They're knocking on your door, and that's what they want to start with.
Right. Well, then that's a non-starter, and that's not going to happen.
Well, I hope not.
That's not going to happen. That's not, because you just can't. I don't trust them. I don't trust the government. I don't trust on them because they will abuse that red flag law. I mean, there are two things that are non-starters for me to where I just fold my arms and go, screw you. No, there's nothing to talk about. Red flag laws and a national registry of guns. Because when you have to register one nationally, where you register your gun,
whatever,
and the government knows it, that is the first step to confiscation.
Correct.
Because they know where all the guns are.
Correct.
You know, it's not any of, now with me it is because I've got a license. But for you, it's none of the government's business how many guns you have. It's not their business.
I agree.
It's not. Now, if you go rob a bank, it's their business.
Well, yeah, of course.
It's their
Barbara
business.
Ann, go rob that bank.
You know? And so, but to me, there has to be, there's going to be a little pain on both sides.
Okay, well, let me ask you this question. Since you're adamant, and I can see the adamancy, if that's the word, of what we do have a gun problem. We have a.
Well, you agree with that, don't you? That there is a gun problem?
Well, I think it's more of a.
Guns play into societal problems.
And that's what I think is the biggest problem.
But they're intergrained, and if they're intergrained, then it's a gun problem.
So you take a person that can't go buy a gun, and they have gun shows right here in this center about once a quarter, I think. Purple Haze.
I believe there's one this weekend.
Maybe one right here, and that's pretty big, right?
Once a month.
We're in this location where we're at, and if they can't go in there and buy a gun, I know myself personally of some place that I could go to through someone else, kind of, this person
Sure.
know that, and I could buy and get anything I want.
You've had the black market since medieval times.
Okay, so
There's always been a black market.
So where does that stop? The issue of someone doing these heinous crimes, because if they're in that mode, they don't care about being legal of buying that gun.
Here's
They'll
what I
just
would
get
do.
it whatever they can do.
Here's what I would do. And, I've thought about this because, you just can't say, one side can't say, we got to ban all guns, and the other side can't say, well, we got too many, there's nothing we can do. I mean, that's the give up solution. And we can't do that. Something needs to be done. If it were me, what I would do is I would make it to where that all guns have to be sold through a licensed dealer.
Okay, well, that's one of the
Okay.
things they've talked about.
Okay. Now that could be
So
a gun shop.
and they're talking about that if you sell me a gun, person to person, in other words, not your class 3 person, but like somebody I know,
Mm-hmm.
a friend has a gun, they want to sell it to me, we would have to go to a
Yes.
dealer and get that thing done, or it would be against the law.
Now before you do that, I think that these gun dealers and the gun shops aren't going to like it, because I think that they all need to be retrained and re-regulated on what to look for and what to do. I think that they should
But
have.
why would they not like it? Because they could make money when you go in and them do the process, charge you $30 or $40 to do that transaction.
Could.
So they got a chance to make a few bucks on doing that business deal.
But it's also going to take away
But the big
business time
sale
from them.
for them. Well, they could hire somebody to do that. By
Well, once
themselves.
again, then you're talking about
more
you're
money
talking
out.
about-
Right.
So, but I would make that. I would make it to where they're re-regulated, they're re-licensed, and every gun shop, if you want to apply for that license, you can, but it's going to be federally regulated to where that they handle it. It's going to be tied into the FBI. They're going to tighten up a few of because they're talking about background check. You when you go buy a gun at a gun store, there's a background check.
Well, sure.
But it's not. It's kind of a jerk off one. I mean, there's you.
I was wondering why Barbara M was always getting approved.
All you have to do, you can lie on there. I would fix it to where you can't lie, even though it's a federal form and it's an affidavit, and if you lie on it, it's a federal offense. But people lie on it all the time. But I would fix it where you could. I would also make it to where that when you buy that gun, you buy it, you pass the background, everything is done, you pay for it, and you get that gun in 7 days. You don't get it right then.
Well, and I guess I don't have a problem with that, even though I get juicy when I want to buy one.
Well,
It's
again,
like, I got
Bo,
that sucker
our
right there.
side, we've got to give a little bit.
I
I mean,
understand.
we can't have everything our way.
I know, and I just wish this is the scary part about me and all the 400 and something of the millions of Americans that have guns, that they just feel like that's not going to stop with the left. The left is going to eat away at it. They're going to want to. Okay,
You can't do it.
I know what you're saying.
That's why you get this handled, and you get it handled right now. And as far as gun shows, about just walking through there with a 30-06 with a sign on it that says for sale, those days are over. Can't do that anymore. There is no private sales of guns. Those are done. They're finished.
You're talking about if they to change the law
Finished.
for that, right?
Finished. Yep. I mean, you cannot do that. Every gun transaction has to go through the licensed dealer.
Except-
And the
Okay.
black market's just going to go off the
Except when Joe,
Okay.
except when
Well,
Joe Blow has a
let me-
gun, he says, "Here's my number. Give me a call after we leave the gun show."
Okay, that's where else this comes in. Now, if you've got a 30-06 that you just felt like that, you know what, Greg, I'm going to give you that 30-06. Now you just give it to me, and it's my gun. Those days are over. You have to go to a licensed dealer, pay a fee, and have that transferred over to
But
me.
people aren't gonna
Has
do
to
that.
Well, Barbara, then we're going to have gun problems forever.
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be something done.
But I
And-
think that's
I
the
know my
reason why we're
neighbor's
going to have
not.
drug
Yeah.
problems forever. That's the reason why we're going to have alcoholism, or well, maybe
But
that's
see,
not a
I
problem.
hate that argument.
I
that,
know
that
you
when you start
do,
with that, when you
but-
start saying that, because that's just giving up and say, "Well, we got a problem; it can never be solved."
Okay, then okay. If we give into what you're saying, I honestly believe in my gut that you're still going to have these mass shootings. I don't think it's going to stop that.
Nope, it's not.
You might make the left halfy a little bit, or you might put it out there to where, okay, we've got some of these gun laws and you got to do all this and do all that to go do that. But I promise you, there's going to be a mass shooting by someone that didn't go through that process because they don't give a crap about that process anyway.
And I also, I mean, one of the kickers that I put on there, you know, and I would along with this, I would classify guns in different classifications, you know, like semi-automatic. I mean, anything with
like they do drugs when you go to a pharmacy.
Anything with a clip or magazine of 6 or more is classified as semi-automatic. Shotgun, revolvers. Hunting
Pistols,
rifles, you know, and most hunting rifles, I mean, they have a magazine, but it only holds 3 shells.
Right.
That'd be okay. That would be a different classification than an AR-15, where you can buy a magazine that holds 30. But I would have this kicker on it, that if you get caught with an illegal gun, to where you didn't go through the process, if you get caught giving a gun away, if you get caught selling
either way.
an illegal gun, like on the black market, 20 years mandatory federal prison time. That's it. 20 years. You can have a trial, but you are getting 20 years.
What happens if somebody passes away? And like his dad passes away and he passed down the gun.
Then you still have to go and register the gun.
But it's under your dad's name. You didn't register it.
Well, the estate, a will, or when you have an executor, then they have to do the paperwork and get it transferred.
I don't know if you guys heard on the news last night, 3 kids were shot by guns, and they were because they were all illegal guns. They weren't registered, but they were left out for the kids to grab. So, I mean, you're not going to be able to stop that by all this stuff.
Then you enact a law in there. You've got to start locking people up.
This was all in Fort Worth. 3 kids died last night.
You know, you have to start making it to where that because even though we are given the right under our Constitution, and our forefathers were so adamant on how important that was, that it was the second thing they included.
Yeah,
you know, right over freedom of speech.
Well, that's why we became free.
Yeah,
that was the number one reason why we became the United States of America, because they had weapons.
So it's important, but you've got to take it seriously.
And if responsibility.
If you have a gun, and you've got a kid in the house, and that kid accidentally shoots himself, then there has to be a consequence.
You would think, wouldn't you?
Well, it'd be like if you did something wrong with your kid, you know,
and I would
what they call it, child endangerment.
I would make it zero tolerance
to
where that you know and if you accidentally shoot somebody, sorry, you're going to serve a little bit of time. You've got to make it so hard that if you've got a gun like me, who has a lot of guns and keep them all locked up, I mean, I guard those more than I guard anything, because I don't want anybody getting to them. I don't want anybody getting to my arsenal. I don't want anybody getting into that. And they're all locked up in safes, and nobody's getting to them. And everybody has to have that mindset. I mean, the mindset of having a gun in your nightstand, that's got to go. That's got to go away.
Well, I don't have mine in my nightstand. I have it right next to my pillow.
If you have kids.
Oh, yeah, well.
You know,
my son knows more about guns than I do.
And they all know about our guns, and they treat them with respect. We use toy guns to teach them.
You have to do that. But if we don't do something, then...
Are you fearful that it's going to be worse, that they'll go after, like, let's just take all the guns?
Yes.
Like that. You're saying let's give a little so we don't lose everything.
You know, if something...
And I understand that. So if that's the modus operandi here to do that, and that helps and relieves some tension or pressure or whatever, and maybe it does thwart a mass shooting, which I'm not so sure that will, but if it does, then okay.
You don't understand. And 2016 election taught me something, that anybody can get elected.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, and I fear that with the Democrats controlling the House right now, and little weirdness here, little weirdness there, The economy goes down a little bit.
Pocahontas is your president.
Pocahontas is your president. They win the Senate. All you need is 51 votes in the Senate. They're going to have the vice president, so that's a vote right there.
Right.
And all of a sudden they say, you know what? Nah, no more AR-15s. Get rid of them all. And if you own one, you got to give it up. And just make it illegal. I mean, I fear that. And so,
well, they better fear that they think they're going to do that, because I think that's going to be hell break loose around here.
It really would. But who wants that carnage?
No,
who wants that fight?
I know,
nobody does.
But
that's why that you've got to recognize. And I don't think any rational person, and you know, Bo, you know, I've talked about this, that there is a gun problem.
Okay.
I mean, it's too accessible. I mean, it's too easy to get a gun. I just want to make it to where that not any idiot, and like I said, I am ingrained in that gun culture. And when you do, you have the best people, the most God-fearing, law-abiding people in the world. But you got another element that's in there with us. And they're the scary people. And I see them walking around those gun shows all the time. And they're scary. And, you know, and when you've got these liberal idiots, Antifa, walking around, they're one thing. But they're not armed. Our idiots are armed.
The gun guys are armed, right?
I mean, our idiots are armed.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. And I recognize the fact that it's just too easy to get a gun. Now, I don't want to make it impossible, but I don't think having to go to a authorized gun shop
and wait a few days
to buy a gun, to go through a background check, to make sure no red flags. They say red flags, I'm out.
Right.
I mean, then I say, you know what? We don't have a gun problem. F you.
Right.
You know, I don't go for that because I don't trust the other side.
You cannot.
You know.
Well, look what they're doing to Kavanaugh.
Exactly.
I mean, there's your good. There's your good example of red flag.
So I don't go for that, but I do understand that a guy like me, if all those rules were intact, I'd have no problem with it. I'd say, okay, I really want to buy that new 1911, Colt automatic, 45 automatic. But I can't think of one reason why I would need it today that I couldn't wait a week from today. I can't think of that. Now, if you want to go kill your wife because you caught her, doing whatever, then you need that gun right then.
Well, I already got 13 to do that.
You
don't have to worry about 9/11.
And so that's what I'm saying. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem making the background check a little more stringent. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either.
I don't have a problem.
Well, then we've solved that problem today. And everybody, I hope that you'll be on board with that a little bit.
They're talking about maybe regulating their ammo sales and
Greggo
stuff like that.
is
I would also make a rule that you can't buy any more than 100 rounds at one time, and you've got to show your driver's license, and you can't buy it any more than 100 rounds in one day.
And it's on a computer, yeah.
Yeah. And have a database, an ammo database, because nobody needs more than 100 shots in what per day. Nobody does.
Not that big.
Nobody does. And if you're a big target shooter, well, you can go 7 straight days and have 700 rounds. And I don't know anybody that goes to a range and shoots 700 rounds that doesn't have an automatic. And very few people have automatic weapons.
True.
So, but
how are we doing on time?
We're out of here.
Yeah, and Facebook is saying you're making some great arguments there.
How about that?
Well,
Greggo's making sense.
Oh, believe me.
I didn't say sense. Great argument.
It's 50-50 with all my gun buddies. I mean, a lot of them say, yeah, and a lot of
like I argued with you today, right?
But a lot of them are just folding their arms going, nope, none of that. Not going to do that because I'm guaranteed it's my alienable right from God. It's the Second Amendment, and I get to do that. Well, no, that's not true because you can't have a grenade launcher. Yeah. You can't have a bazooka. You don't have a tank in your backyard. The average person can't have a fully automatic Tommy gun. I can. I can.
Well, here's the thing.
But the average person can't. So there is laws prohibiting that Second Amendment right now.
Well, here's the thing. If what you're saying is where we could go, and that's where we would stop, and then okay, now we've done that, now let's go after this, let's go after that, then I'm okay with it. But I think most of Americans are fearful that it's just the beginning of biting off the cake. Here's the slice we're getting today, we get that taken care of, then a year from today we pass another one that takes another slice. And so I think that's the fearful
That's
thoughts.
as far as I'm going. That's it. I mean, that's my final offer.
Well, if that's it,
that's my final.
You don't need to call anybody. You don't need to call a lifeline on there.
But what you have to understand is the youth that are coming up, they are being indoctrinated that guns are bad, and they point to England, they point to other countries. Go, they don't have guns, and they don't have all these problems.
True.
And you can't argue with that.
Well, they got other problems though.
Well, they knife people and they throw acid in their face, but you can't argue that they don't. And so, able to protect our right to have that, we've got to give a little, and we've got to be smart. We got to be. We just can't talk about. It's like that after the Korean War, they were talking about United States being invaded. And one of the Japanese, I can't remember, it was a Japanese general, said the United States will never be invaded because there is a gun behind every blade of grass.
Basically,
And you know what? I kind of like that reputation.
That's true. That's true.
And the other thing is you can't just always compare our country to other countries.
No, because we have
because I did a USO military music tour to South Korea, and it was all Koreans. They don't have the same social issues. If you go to Japan, that's what you're going to see. You go to China, you go to a lot of these countries, and they don't have the mixed bag of everything from everywhere across the globe that lives in this country.
Well,
and as a result, there are issues that go with that, and then there's hate that goes with that, and then here comes the problems and all that. So it sucks when they want these younger folk, as you were saying, comparing us, our country, to other countries.
It's like that you hear Bernie Sanders always point to the Scandinavian countries and Canada as the template for free health care, Medicare
yes,
for all.
Exactly.
And you don't understand, when we do a census in 2020 next year, we're going to find out that there is north of 350 million people in this country.
Right.
Well, it's a little bit easier when you're a Scandinavian country of 12 million to give everybody free health care than to do that for 350 million people.
Right, correct.
And so that's what they don't understand. So anyway, that's my soapbox for today.
Well, I think
glad we got into all that sports.
Yeah, we were going to get into sports.
We'll get to it.
One of these days, we're going to have to, I guess, go a little longer, go some extra days or something. But
hit the button.
We've had we've lost two great talent musicians over the last week.
Yes.
And that
always comes in threes.
One was a shocker. One wasn't. I mean, Eddie Money. I mean, we knew that
had cancer.
When he said he had esophagus cancer, stage 4.
Yeah, that's
a month ago. That you don't last very long.
No, you're
but
hospice.
Rick Ocasek of the Cars.
Age 75,
I mean, that was I tell you what, I didn't know he was 75.
I know. I was shocked
great.
about that too.
There's going to be one more. They always come in threes, so be prepared.
Hadn't it already happened with T. Boone Pickens?
Yes, she doesn't know T. Boone Pickens probably.
Over my head.
Or are you talking about 3 music people?
Yeah, I think she's like me talking about 3 music.
There's some music people that are getting up there.
I'm a musician, so I'm getting worried
that there's a
You're not
couple.
Famous, so don't worry about it.
I don't want to be either that.
That I'm going to have a hard time getting over. And I remember when Elvis died in '77. I remember grown people having a hard time with that. And I'm like, my God, But there's a couple when Willie goes, when Mick Jagger goes, when Paul McCartney goes, that's going to be tough for me.
That's some stuff right
He's
there.
still alive?
Steven Tyler? Aerosmith? Yeah, he's still singing and touring.
Oh, he just looks dead.
That's awful.
Well, hot daughter, I know that.
That music right there is time for us to disappear for this Monday evening. We want to thank you for joining us on this Monday evening at 7 p.m. And we're here every Monday and Friday starting at 7 p.m. live.
Friday, we're going to have a lively show because a lot of people have been asking me to tell some of my music stories from my days at Billy Bob's.
Okay, then we
I've
will
got
do
one.
that. Well, that will be an
I've got
adventure
one of
night.
those. Adventure night.
And we appreciate y'all tuning in. And again, you can
The
check
time
out.
I lost George Jones.
I know, that's so funny. You can tune in and check these shows out archived. And on Facebook, if you watch the show on Facebook when we share that, you can still make comments even after it's long gone. So y'all have a great week, and we love you. Always here on Facebook.com/Bo and Greggo, or also Twitter.com/Bo and Greggo.
I love you,
Have a
America.
great night. We'll see you.